Okay, shit. It's been a while since I did any public speaking, but I felt like something just had to make me reconnect once again. I just want to make it clear. I don't think I'm going back into public speaking. I don't think I'm intending to be any pundit. I know some of you may know me back from the TRS talk show, and yeah, and so I just felt that there was something that I wanted to highlight. And I think we have these two figures that are becoming very mainstream, which is Officer Tatum and Candice Owens. Now, I want to be very, very clear. I was probably a fan of these guys probably maybe 3 months ago. I lost interest in Officer Tatum maybe about 4 months ago, and then I was hanging on to Candice Owens, and I lost interest in Candice Owens. So I just want to make a few things clear before we get into this, and explain a couple things. First of all, I'm not an African American. I'm an African. I was born in Africa. I grew up in England. I lived in America, and now I'm back in Africa. I moved back to Africa for business purposes. I was into the activism world, got involved in a lot of marches, a lot of protests. I got involved in riots. I was literally on the other side of the police most of the time. I was on the other side of Mr. Tatum most of the time. So I've had my rounds of things to do. But I felt like a lot of the debates, I used to be in this when I was young, when I was like 17, and I was debating men in their 30s and 40s. And I felt a lot of things used to revolve around the economic development of Africa. So I said, I can either keep talking about this or I can make this happen. And I was always an action person. If anytime I got into talking, it was literally centered around action. So I'm back here in Africa, and we're working involved in some industries. I don't like to give too much away, not because I'm a coward and I don't want to put my face out, but the people involved with the nature of the work I do are not is not really relative to this political stuff. So some of this stuff coming out, I mean, it's not really going to hurt me, but it won't favor that attention won't favor me. So that's why I prefer to keep my face behind the wraps. But I'm not shy to go public. But anyways, the reason why I mentioned that is I want to make it clear why I'm going to break down Officer Tatum and Candice Owens. The real reason I want to break down what we're dealing with these two individuals and the other individuals similar to them is because, believe it or not, I'm a Trump supporter. I love Trump. And I feel Officer Tatum and Candice Owens and people of that nature are going to possibly fuck up his likelihood to win. So that's the first reason. And in fact, that's probably the main reason, because everything else that I don't like about them, I just take it as opinions or whatever. So I want to get into this video, but first I want to explain to you why an African man here is a Trump supporter and is concerned about Trump's situation, which I believe all could have been different videos, but this is not my job. I don't have time to be making videos. So I want to break that down to you. You see, I was a political journalist when a president of Ivory Coast was illegally removed. All right, he goes by the name of Gbagbo. Okay, he was one of the greatest economic presidents in Africa, and he won his re-election fair and square. And I was following this day to day. I was a journalist, and it was a bit difficult to follow it because it's a francophone country, so I really had to dig in to get the truth. And he won fair and square. They faked a results. Imagine you get the results of Trump winning, then some days later they pull out a paper and say Biden won. Imagine that. And whilst they faked this, all of a sudden his opposition just happened to have had this military that came from the north, which they were really mercenaries, but the Western media highlighted them as rebels, who were against oppression. And they came from the north of the country, killing all their way down till they got to the Gbagbo's residence, and they broke him out of there and arrested him with the French. So the French came in to remove Gbagbo because Gbagbo was one of the people who wanted to change the franc and have their own currency. And Obama and America were a part of this. So I was really, that was my eye opening to noticing that there was something funny about Obama. Okay, this happened shortly before they went and implemented the same strategy with removing Gaddafi. And definitely Obama was a part of that and in killing this man. And that's when I said, no, this Obama and this American government is really fucked up. You know what I mean? And I'd always been keeping my eyes on the American government, but at that position, I realized that whatever goes on with the American government fucks with us over here in Africa. So I had my eye on that. Sometime later on, Trump made this accusation that Obama wasn't, Kenyan, Obama was a Kenyan and whatever. And a lot of people were quick to dismiss it and call it racist and this. And I actually did some research. I didn't research into it too much, but I do recall there were a lot of videos that exposed Obama's birth certificate to be fake. So I did not immediately dismiss Trump off as a racist. The whole thing came to me as something that I should take note of. I mean, I was already not a fan of Obama or the American president. At that time, I wasn't concerned what was Democrat or what was Republican. I just here as an African that was politically in tune with what was going on around the world, just knew that the American government was fucked up. Okay. And so I had this thing in my mind when the birth certificate of Obama came out, and there was a lot of things that proved that it was fake. No problem. That has nothing to do with me. I don't care. Fast forward to when Trump was running for president. Okay. There were a lot of articles that came out about him being a racist. I didn't care, racist or not, they were fucking with Africa. But there was one article that came out and said that Trump wants every black person in America to go back to Africa. I'm sure all black people probably saw this article and reshared it and retweeted it. But as a journalist and as someone who has journalist experience, I don't promote or share anything until I see some evidence or until I see some proof. I was shocked by it. I was shocked, how the fuck can a president come and say this? Like, whoa, this is not right for a president to say it. So I wanted to find out, is America really heading in this direction? So I followed the articles and I followed the source and I did my research and I did it on Google. No article was providing evidence. They were all claiming he said it at a particular rally. I followed it to the first article that published the story, and even that one didn't have any evidence. It just made reference to a particular rally. I went to watch Donald Trump's rally, and then I realized that he didn't say it. I Googled it. They said he said it in Ottawa or whatever they call it. So I Googled all his rallies in that state, and I didn't hear it. This is before Trump was president. I started to say, look, if he made this comment about telling Africans to go back to Africa when he's president, this is no joke. I've got to find this comment. So I said I'm going to watch all President Trump's rally. I was watching it on Right Side Broadcasting. I started watching all of his rallies. I did not hear this racist comment in any. During the process, I was actually looking for this comment. I started to realize that Trump actually wasn't a racist. In fact, Trump said a lot of things that black activists agreed with. And I started to realize that a lot of things that they had claimed that Trump was racist for, he didn't actually say it. So I started seeing that the same Democratic Party and the same Western media was really after this man, and this man was onto something, because as I'm looking for this, I'm also building a liking towards Trump, you know. So later on, I start to realize that Trump is really exposing this so-called Democratic Party. But I started to realize that it was more than Trump versus the Democratic Party. It was really Trump versus imperialism and globalism. And that's why Trump is hated. This is not about Republicans versus Democrats. Trump is actually acting against imperialism. Okay, that's why you're seeing all this thing going down with Epstein. That's why you're seeing the change, the prison reforms, and all of these things. That's why you're seeing Trump pulling troops out of different countries. Look, Trump came in, and Trump was not meant to win. Trump was assumed to be a comedian who won't win. And that's why they allowed him. You see, the president. Look, okay, I'm going too much into this, but the bottom line is I'm a Trump supporter. Now, why I feel I need to break down Officer Tatum and Candice Owens is because I feel like Trump is such an important figure. And these two types of people, and I say types because it's not just them, they've got Jericho, they've got all these other guys. I feel these guys are going to hurt Trump's chances of winning if the black vote is a pivotal vote. And I want to get into it. I've been watching these two, and I used to like Officer Tatum and Candice Owens and the Hodge twins, and I don't watch these guys religiously. It's just that my involvement in my company involves a lot of work online and on the computer, and I like to have these things in the background, just to make it easier to work. So I've been a fan of Candace Owens because I felt Candace Owens was different to most of the Republican pundits or speakers or whatever you call them. Candace Owens was mostly coming out of place from a place with love for her people, trying to make them understand being a black Republican. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think it was good because she was a fighter for black people. I think what happened to all of these people is somewhere along the line, they stopped being a fighter for black people and they started becoming panderers to white people. Now I understand that, okay? The Republican party is the so-called party of racists. Now we know the ideals of the Republicans is not racist, but we know the fake Democratic Party has been branding it as racist. So what you're going to get is you're going to get an influx of racist people who are going to feel like, hey, that's my party. So you're going to get the normal thinking Republicans and you're going to get the racist Republicans. Okay. Now what we have is we have people who've come to the conclusion that Trump is the right president, which is good. They have every reason to come to that conclusion. Especially if you're a black person. If you're a black person and you take away the branding that the Democratic Party has done for itself and for the Republican Party, you will come to the conclusion that the Republican ideals sit with you. But don't get caught up too much in this thing that goes on in America with this Democratic Party and this Republican Party, because it's all bullshit. Okay, I'll give you an example. The Democratic Party is supposed to be in its ideal, it's supposed to be the party that wants more government, wants more government control of schools, more food stamps, more welfare, all of this. If a party is the party that wants more government intervention, then that party should not be the party that is screaming defund the police. Do you understand what I'm saying? How can you be the party that wants more government intervention, yet you are the party that wants less police? And it goes the same with the Republican Party. How can you be the party of liberty when you are trying to restrict people from choosing from having the choice of abortion or not? You know, when you get into these parties, you realize that they're not really political parties. They're just cultural parties. They're based on culture. Like, what are the Republicans saying today? That's what I'm saying today because I'm a Republican. What are the Democrats saying today? That's what I'm saying today because I'm a Democrat. They don't even stick to their own ideals. So whether you're a Republican or Democrat or not, I don't think it's necessary. And the reason why I'm saying this is because what we're getting from Officer Tatum and Candice Owens is they're trying to steer Black people in a way that makes them feel like in order for you to be a Black Republican, if you do want to be a Black Republican, you have to endorse this self-hate that they've built for themselves. Or if you want to support Trump, you have to endorse this self-hate that they have for themselves. I mean, look, we're talking about two people who are spending their lives that feel that they are the spokespeople for Black people, and they're both in interracial relationships. Okay, now, yes, I said, and I know someone is going to look at me as petty, like, oh, what has that got to do with anything? Look, that has nothing to do with your views on the world. Do you see what I'm saying? But don't take yourself to YouTube to come and push yourself as if Black people sat down and bowed down and selected you to go and represent us to white people. If you want to be a Republican and share Republican views, go ahead with it. But what you get from someone like an Officer Tatum is he spends his whole life trying to justify Black people to white people. Look, there are loads of conflicts. There are Black on Black conflicts, there are white on white conflicts, and there are Black on white conflicts and white on Black conflicts. Officer Tatum has made it his role to spend his time to come and criticize every Black on white conflict there is and criticize the Black involvement in it. I mean, we're talking about someone who could hardly just even talk about the killing of George Floyd without necessarily trying to dampen the man's image. He and Candice Owens came out and put these long videos about what was wrong about George Floyd, but couldn't even make a 5-minute video talking about the police that killed him. And the police that killed him had a whole bunch of negativity on his record. They couldn't come out and make one video about him. They will come out and make a video about everything a Black person does wrong or every conflict that they believe a Black person is wrong. But they will never ever come out and make a video where there's a conflict and the Black person is right and the white person is wrong. You'll never see them do that. They'll only do that when it comes to maybe trying to shame the Democratic Party. So we have let me give you an example. Let's say I have an obligation to tarnish white people as bestiality lovers, okay? And maybe let's say only 1%. I don't know these statistics. I'm making this up. I'm just giving you an example. Let's say only 1% of white people are engaged in it. It might be a little amount to make it an issue. But I can play with numbers. I can look at that number of people involved in bestiality and maybe 93% of them are white people. So I can come and talk about 93. I won't talk about 1% of white people engage in it, but I will talk about the 93% of people involved in it being white. Maybe that 1% is 200,000 or maybe 200 million, whatever the number of the ratio of white people in America is. And I will push those numbers. So I will keep pushing that narrative. I will keep finding videos. I will take the videos people send me. I will search videos on YouTube. I will search articles. I'll put a whole bunch of things to keep me talking about it every day until it's embedded in your mind that white people are involved in bestiality. or they love it. And this is what these people keep doing. They keep looking for the ills and the negativity of every black and white conflict so they can go and pander to their white counterparts and tell them that you're okay. We're the ones who are wrong. And they feel because they have the black skin that they have the right to do this. And then their racist white followers or white people who have been racist or share a negative view towards black people start to feel like they're okay. And this self-hate that we see when we talk about Officer Tatum and Candice Owens and people like that nature is very common in the black community. And it comes in various ways. It comes in from the gangsters we see. It comes from the gangster rappers. It comes from even other negative rappers. It comes from people who have acquired money and feel like they're better than us. It comes from people who are having experience. It even comes from some black activists, and I'll explain that. You see, as someone who was involved in the activist movement, when you put yourself out there and you give your inner feeling and your inner mind and your inner peace that you are out here for your people, sometimes it takes you down the wrong path to start expecting things from your people. I remember when I was young, there was a lot of things we used to do. We used to fight for a lot of people who were killed in police custody the wrong way, and we used to hand out leaflets, and we'll be out in the streets in the freezing cold. You know, London is fucking cold. You know, we were really doing this. And when you're out there doing this, sometimes people can push you, sometimes people can take your flyer and throw it away, sometimes people will insult you, sometimes people will laugh at you. It was crazy. And you're out here, the same type of people you are trying to help are the same who are mocking you, are the same type of people you wake up tomorrow and see that they were either shot or you know, they were the ones who were locked up for the wrong reasons, and tomorrow you outside the station picketing for them. So it was a really crazy feeling, and sometimes being involved in that can turn you negative against your people. It can turn you negative. And this is why I say you see it even in some black activists. If you notice that there's some black activists that come and they talk to black people like black people owe them. They talk to you like you are smaller than them. They spend half their time saying what black people need to do. When you see a black activist or someone who feels like they're a black leader who talks about the people like what black people need to do, that is a gateway to the self-hate they have in them. It's not a definite, but it's a gateway that they likely have self-hate in them. Because no black leader says this is what you people need to do if they're not doing it. Let me say that again. No black leader says this is what you people need to do to the people they believe they're the leader of if they're not doing it. If I say black people, you ain't marching against black on black violence, and I put myself in as a leader, that is stupid. Because that same time I used to say you are not doing this, that's the same amount of time I should have said, come, let's congregate 10 a.m. in the morning here to march against black on black violence. That's not a leader. That's someone who wants to point the finger and shout and tell you what to do. So you get a lot of people who are not really for the people that want to. You see, the thing is, black people are at the bottom. Let's face it, black people are at the bottom. Black people are at the bottom because we don't come into this world to war. We come into this world to go with the flow. We're born in the hood, what's up in the hood? We're born in Africa, what's up in Africa? We're born in France, what's going on in France? White people come to control. White people come to own. White people come to say, oh, is that yours? It's going to be mine. Do you get what I'm saying? So we have a situation where we're at the bottom right now. And no one likes to be associated with the bottom. Because when you admit that you're at the bottom, it's embarrassing. So no one wants to associate with the bottom. And so when you have these people who feel like they want to distinguish themselves from the general public. That you can either do two things. You can either excel or you can spend your whole time criticizing the people. Most of the black activists in the black communities don't speak to the people or for the people. They speak at the people. They speak from an opposition end of the people because they don't want to be associated with the bottom, because it kills them when they sit down and think, oh shit, I gotta fix this. And so a lot of people start because they genuinely have love. And eventually it grows, and it grows to the point where they feel they're entitled to the love back. And when they don't get it, they feel they've got to prove something else. But some of these people, they come in with self-hate. And, you know, when you're a black activist or you're a speaker for your people, we all have this depiction of who you are and what you should be. We have this depiction, right? And maybe sometimes they follow the pum pum, you know, they fall in love with a white person, and they know within themselves that they're not following the path of a true black leader. Do you get what I'm saying? And let me say this again, because I'm going to go full circle and come back around this. They know they're not following the path of a full black leader. So what they try to do is they try to change the narrative of what black people should be like. So you would see that this man now is married to a white woman. I don't know about Candice Owens, but I've seen things online saying she has a white spouse. Look, no one's paying none of these niggas to be a black leader. No one, we never selected any of you. Now it's okay to have concerns about the black community, whether you are in an interracial relationship or whether you are the black woman or a black man. You can have your concerns. That is totally okay. There's no problem with that. I hope you're seeing, because it is okay to be Asian and have concerns about the black community. I remember when I was a very small kid, I was so worried about the Red Indians and what they did to them and the Cowboys did to them when I was watching all those movies before I even found out about slavery. I used to tell myself I'm gonna help the Red Indians get their land back until I found out about slavery. So it's okay to be concerned about a race, whether it's yours or not. But what has happened is these guys have taken it to the point where they know within themselves that they didn't follow the path of a true black leader. And it's eating them inside. And so what they now want to do is they now want to change. They want to change the pivot of the black activist movement. They want to tell you that everything you understand about black activism is a dream. And that police are not racist, and that there's nothing like systematic racism, which I'm going to debunk in a second. Not debunk by my own ideology, but their own ideology. So there's something that they wake up every morning being that person who was speaking for black people and notice that now they're waking up in bed with a white person. So they want to come and tell you that what you understood about black leaders and about the black struggle is now wrong. Now it's about how we want to pander to white people and you have to embrace our ideology. And the whole point why I'm making this video is to let you know that you can be a black Republican, but you don't have to embrace their self-hate. That's the reason why I'm making this video. You can support Trump based out of the love that you have for black people, because what these guys want to do is they want to hold the black vote for Trump or the black support for Trump hostage into the ideology that you also have to hate your black people and your black people's day-to-day reality. And they want to do that. So now if Trump wins, they're going to be sitting down on their thrones like it's because of us. Now there's a new stage of, but you can be a black person and say you support Trump, you're voting Republican, and this is to my African American brothers, you can support Trump, you can vote Republican, but you don't have to embrace what these guys are putting out. what these haters are putting out, because they're not even here to speak on black Republicans. They're here to speak on black and white conflicts and let white people know that they're okay. It's okay. And you see, they're trying to, I told you I was going to come full circle to that black leader. No one is forcing you to be a black leader. No one is forcing you, Mr. Tatum. No one is forcing you, Candice Owens, to represent black people. You don't represent black people. You don't represent a minority. You don't represent black Republicans. You don't represent any of us. You guys have a lot of followers and you have a lot of views. Yes, of course. White people are going to love you. And we know the percentage of white people in America. And yes, some black people are going to love you too. Some black people are going to love some of you. And some people are just going to watch you because you're controversial. If I film something controversial, it doesn't mean that because people are watching it, they love it. It just means that it's controversial. And that people on both ends, people who love it and people who hate it, are going to watch it. But what I want people to understand is you don't need to fall into their perception to support Trump or to be a black Republican. And I told you I was going to debunk their look. Both Officer Tatum and Candice Owens will criticize you for saying there's systematic racism. They'll tell you it doesn't exist. Right? That's what they're telling you African Americans, that how the hell can you believe there's systematic racism? It doesn't exist. 2 seconds later, when they're criticizing the Democrats and they're criticizing Joe Biden, they're going to talk about the crime bill he put in place that affects the black communities. At that moment, they tell you that that's systematic racism. That's a system that's meant to lock up black people for the capitalist benefit of white corporations. Let me tell you what systematic racism is. Imagine even, and this is not even true, but imagine even if all the arrested black people were justified. Imagine that there was no unjust arrest of a black person. When these black people get arrested, they go and work in prison for very little. I understand there's no payment. I don't know how it works, but we know that they're doing labor. All right, they're doing labor in terms of going out and cleaning communities, and they're doing labor in terms of factory work. Some of it that goes on in the prison. I don't know the details, but I do know that one for sure, because that was something I used to debate with people about 8-9 years ago. Now, that labor that they're providing is not going towards their communities. Do you understand? So if I live in Chicago and there's a motherfucker who's swinging a gun and terrorizing people and shoots a kid, and they come and arrest him, them arresting that nigger, them arresting that brother is not going to benefit my community where they arrested him from. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's already racism. That is racism, because what they're doing is the crime that is erupting in the black communities, the result of the prison actually serves the white communities. We don't see a bunch of prisoners working for any black companies. We don't see a bunch of prisoners cleaning up the hoods and fixing things and providing labor in the hood, or the American hood, if I should say. But nevertheless, the fact that they will come and talk about the Democratic crime bill that saw a lot of incarceration of black families, that in itself is systematic racism. So they would admit systematic racism just to criticize the Democrats, then turn around to pander to their white people and say it doesn't exist. Officer Tatum is a hustler. He's a hustler. That's why he starts every video with buy the cool merch and this. He knows that doing videos that's going to satisfy black people is not going to make him money. It's not, no black person is going, no black YouTuber is selling shirts like the way Officer Tatum is selling shirts. Do you get what I'm saying? But in all honesty, I don't want to knock the two down. I don't want to knock them down so much because I do understand that it's not easy to come to the conclusion that the Republican is the right way forward for black people. And to me, I don't even know if I can say the Republicans. I can say Donald Trump, but in order for Donald Trump to be effective, Republicans need to win. And I know it's not easy to come to that conclusion. You'd have to be headstrong to come to that conclusion with a lot of the race baiting being pushed by the Democrats. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you can become a black Republican without embracing the self-hate that Officer Tatum, Candice Owens, and the Hodge twins are having. And they don't need to hold captive the black Republican vote. You don't feel, I don't want you to feel like in order for you to support Trump, you have to embrace their views, because you don't. You don't have to embrace their views. Their views are not Republican views. Their views are self-hate views. I'll bet you anything their white supporters, a good number of their white supporters can even tell them that they're off course. I mean, look, in 1 month, okay, in this 1 month of Officer Tatum, he has done 3 things that have made me say, wow, is this nigga serious? He has debunked the interest of racism from white people. No problem. He's debunked. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I made an error. He's debunked the idea of reparations from white people. No problem. That's a debate that goes left and right. I'm for reparations. I haven't figured out how it should go, how much it should be, whatever it is, but I respect it. And I respect it on the basis that other races that have been fucked with got reparations. So on the basis that that can happen, I don't see why black people should miss out on it. But he's debunked that it's okay. I'm not disagreeing with him to not be for it. But then you know what he did? He debunked it and said he wants reparations from the Africans who sold the African Americans or the Black Americans or whatever. He said that in a video. I don't know which video. I'm not here to debate him, but he said that in a video. And I'm like, wow. So one country develops a whole economy out of slavery, and let's even say slavery was ignited by slave traders or whatever, because I don't really fully embrace that slavery was so real, but let's say a few African leaders got some money from selling people. You want to say that you want reparations from those nations, but you are okay with the white people. I was like, this guy is crazy. Another video, he literally tried to justify Jim Crow. He literally tried to make the Jim Crow laws seem like, oh, it was okay because some black people wanted to be in their corner, some white people wanted to be in their corner, so it wasn't really racism. Literally, go watch this guy's videos. He tried to justify Jim Crow. We're talking about those moments where you would get shot from being in the wrong part of town, where you would see signs saying no Jews, no dogs, no blacks, whatever. He tried to justify it in a video. That was the second one. And what was the third one that made me? The third one was he came out and he made this video about, if you're a Christian, why don't you forgive everything that happened in the past, including white people, and forget about racism and forget about slavery, and I'm going to say this prayer with you. I said, what is up with this nigga? And then I come to find out that he's flaunting his white wife. So look, you know what I mean? Look, there's nothing wrong with having a white wife. There's nothing wrong with interracial marriages. There's nothing wrong with being concerned about your people whilst being in an interracial relationship. But don't sell us down the boat for your hustling, for your selling your t-shirts and your merch, for your YouTube hits. Don't sell your people down the boat, because you're no different from those African leaders that you're saying you want reparations from. You literally are one of them. You literally are one of them, the way you talk to black people. If this was slavery, you would be that fat African man that would be selling your people and telling your people that you shouldn't have resisted the slave catcher. That's you, Officer Tatum. Okay, Candice Owens, boy, I think you've gone down the path of self-hate. You've gone down the path of expecting black people to cherish you and to love you and to hold you up high, and you didn't get that. And so the more you don't get that, the more you turn bitter and bitter. Now, I understand you guys are touching on controversial issues with black people, and the more you do that, you're going to get more white people supporting you. And when these white people support you, they're going to come to you very nice and they're going to say, I agree with you. Some black people don't do this. And it's going to turn you around and you're going to feel you need to impress them. But you don't. You don't need to impress them. And what I want to close with this. What you guys are doing is fucking up Trump's chances of winning. Let me tell you something. The racist white or the white nationalist or those people you're pandering to, they don't need you to vote for Trump. They never needed a black man to go and vote for Trump. Do you understand what I'm saying? They never needed a black woman to go and vote for Trump. They were voting for Trump anyways. All you guys are doing is tickling them. You're just making them feel better about maybe some controversial thoughts they might have had about black people. They don't need you to vote for Trump. On the other hand, the people that need you to convince them to vote for Trump are the black people. And what you're doing is you are showing them that in order to vote for Trump, they need to turn around and look around them and hate everybody around them. That's what you're doing. And so people like you are making black people or black Americans look at the Trump voters and say, no way, I'm not going to hate my black people. No way, I'm not going to agree with the killers of Ahmaud Arbery. No, I'm not going to start insulting the man who just got murdered in broad daylight while screaming for his mother. Yeah, he had a criminal past, but that wasn't him when he got murdered. You can pull out all the facts, all of this, but this is a man who just got murdered. So I know you want to be controversial and you want to show your white associates that you're a different type of breed of black people and you want them to embrace you and you want to please your white husband or your white wife. I know you want to do that. And that's fine. We can all do that later. But right now, the objective is that Trump wins. Look, there's an organization in Africa called Africans for Trump. My brother in Nigeria just started that. I'm discussing with him to see if I can have a branch in my side, but my business just keeps me very busy. But I'm for Trump. Do you understand what I'm saying? Trump is ending globalism. Trump is not a Republican versus a Democrat. Trump is a hero versus globalism. Trump is a hero versus pedophiles. Trump is a hero versus a system of oppression. Now, Trump is not the president of the world, so I'm not relying on Trump for my benefit. But I do see some benefit towards everybody around the world, from Syria to Russia to North Korea to the fake pandemic that's going on. And if the black vote is going to be a swing vote, you guys are going to fuck it up. If the black vote is going to be a swing vote, you guys are going to fuck it up. You black Republicans that want to prove to white people, the white people don't need you, or should I say the white Republicans don't need you to make them vote for Trump. And even if they did, you're not even talking about issues relative to them. You're talking about issues relative to black people. So all you do is you have a whole bunch of white people. So you're not even you're not even, how can I put it? You're not even getting the white people who are Trump voters or uncertain Trump voters to vote to swing from Democrats to Republicans. What you're doing is you're going to the people who are already Trump voters and just making money and selling them merch and getting views of them, because that's what you guys are. You're hustlers, you're business people. Whilst at the same time you're doing this, you are pushing potential black supporters away from Trump. And that's why I'm making this video. Not because I want to come at you, because yes, Democrats are doing a lot of race baiting. A lot of times black people scream racism when it's not racism. I argue on my Facebook with people like that every day. Some guy posted a video of a white kid bullying a black kid, making the black kid kiss his shoes, and the person screamed racism. And I came out and I'm like, well, why are you calling this racism? Because there was nothing race related about this. And I got attacked. You know, so I know there's a lot of race baiting. So I like you guys. But the reason why I feel like I had to do this is because there's a lot at stake with Trump, and you guys are not helping. And if you guys want to be leaders, sit down for a second, breathe. Because I've been through that hate period where you are doing so much for your people and you feel your people don't respect you. I've been there. You need to breathe and tell yourself that it's not by force for me to be a leader of black people. I don't have to speak for black people. I don't have to speak to, and I don't have to speak about black people. And leave it there. And then when the need for you comes for you to speak to black people, it's going to come naturally. Do you understand what I'm saying? But what you're doing now is you're putting a barrier for potential black Trump supporters to feel that you and your ideologies are the ideal ideologies of Republicans and the ideal ideology of being a Trump supporter. And that's why I'm making this video, because I want those black people to know that it isn't. You guys are not the definition of being a black Republican. You're not the definition of being a black Trump supporter. You can be a black Trump supporter and be against police brutality. You can be a black Trump supporter and be against the crime bill and understand that there's systematic racism. You can be a black Trump supporter and scream black girl magic. And that was the thing. I didn't even know if Tatum had a white wife, and he was insulting black girl magic. And you see, the funny thing is, when they want to hate the Democrats, they're going to say, oh, it's the Democrats and Antifa that are rioting. But then when they're pandering to their white people, they're going to be criticizing black people for the riots. It's like they're selective with what they choose. And that's why I say they're hustlers. I mean, what is the purpose of coming out every day and picking out every black and white conflict to demonize the black participants in the conflict? I'm not saying that it's not true, but what is the purpose that you do that every day? What is the purpose? What is the purpose that you do that every day? Like, what is the goal? I come out, I look for black and white conflicts, then I make a video to let people know. Where's your video where there's a black and white conflict and the white person was wrong? Where's that video? I see videos I saw a video not long ago where there's a black man being arrested and he has his hand to his back and the white officer just starts punching him in the head. It's a viral video. I'm sure everyone has seen it. Where's your video on that? Where's your video on that? So I feel like, I'm not even trying to debate these guys with my ideas. I'm just exposing them with their own contradictions. And nobody's paying none of you to be black leaders. No one is paying any of you. No one is forcing any of you to speak on behalf of blacks. And I feel, and I'm going to tell you this. there's a beauty in I think one beautiful thing about Trump's involvement in politics is that we are learning how beautiful and diverse ideologies can be. And I'm saying this because when I used to be in the black activist movement from the angle of you know I don't know how to say it, but the typical angle. Things used to be so black and white. This is a Democrat. This is a Republican. This is a racist. This is a black nationalist. This is a white nationalist. Things used to be so black and white, and now we live in a world where it's so diverse. We're seeing pundits who are racist. We're seeing pundits who are not racist. We're seeing pundits who are for Black Lives Matter, and we're seeing pundits who are for Black Lives Matter and for Trump, and we're seeing pundits who are for pro-life. Like, we're just seeing that there's no group of people that all think the same. So there's a beauty in diversity, and it's beautiful to hear Officer Tatum have his views. It's beautiful to hear Candice Owens and her views. It's beautiful to hear the Hutch twins, and it's beautiful to hear the amazing Lucas. But what is not beautiful is when I feel like what you guys are doing, if your impact is going to hit the black vote, the way I'm thinking, is you're going to put the whole Clinton dynasty and the Bush dynasty back in power. And all this shit that Trump is undoing with the pedophilia and stuff he and his guys are doing, that is going to stop. Trump is going to be wiped off. A Trump comes once in a million. I want to make this clear. A Trump comes once in a million. In order to be able to run for president and have billboards and flags and t-shirts and all this shit, advertisement around the world, you need to have that money. And the Democrats or the elitist or the deep state, as Trump will call it, they never expected a man from nowhere to come with that money and run for president, because most of the people with money just like to sit back and control them. And so when Trump entered, they thought he'd be a joke, but they didn't know that something serious was about to shake them up. Now, if the black vote is going to be a swing vote, you guys can be the biggest Uncle Toms or the biggest house Negroes in the world. I don't care. But don't fuck up the Trump vote, because the Trump vote is a world vote. I'm not here to challenge you guys because I want to be involved in your American culture and what is black on black violence. I can give you videos and debate you guys on that and take you down easily. You know what I mean? But that's not my fight right now. I'm not in the fight of the war of words. I made this video to tell black Republicans that they can still be involved in the fight for justice and still support Trump and still support the Republican Party. Because the Republican Party and its views has nothing to do with what you guys spew every day. I mean, we're talking about Candice Owens wanting to be a leader for black people, and she will sit on a table going on public TV with white people laughing at black people. When police do something wrong, you guys are here to say not all police and this and this and that and this and that. But you will sit with your white audience and take the few negative characteristics about black people and throw it out in the air like it's all of us. So let's face it, you guys are not black leaders and we don't need you. And that's fine. That's okay. You can continue to share your views, because any view that's wrong would be opposed. But the reason why I'm doing this is I just want to let people know that the self-hate of you guys is not the gateway to being a black Republican or being a Trump supporter. I could do a whole video why black people should support Trump. I could do a whole video why your ideologies are wrong. I could do a whole video on a whole bunch of things, but my direction is no longer videos now. Now I'm involved in business, because I believe that if we as black people want to rise, we have to start with businesses. Stop sitting down there And if you think you are the black leaders or you are the voice for black America, you won't be sitting down criticizing. You'll be doing shit, and every time you switch your video on or your camera on, you'll be telling us what you're doing, the updates, what you've done for black people, what you're doing. But all you're doing is raising money for police with your white wife. You ain't no black leader voice or no black movement, nothing. You just someone who is here to run your business. You're just here to run your business, both of you. You're business people, and that's cool. You got an ideology and you making money off it. So you leading these racist whites, you taking their money. Cool. At least let me tell you racist white something. If you think you finally got someone to speak for you, no, you got someone to take your money and raise his black kids with your money. That's what he's doing to you racist whites. So with that said, you guys, the Officer Tatums and the Candice Owens of the world, need to rethink your approach if you want to claim you're a black leader. But like I said, it's not by force. You can just be Officer Tatum and you can be Candice Owens and you can leave black people alone. No one's paying you to speak on behalf of black people. No one's paying your white wife to go and speak on behalf of black people so she can come and say, oh, I'm not racist, I'm married to a black man. Man, fuck out of here. And for the black people out there in the world, I want you to know that Trump is very necessary. I should have made actually a whole 1 hour video talking about what Trump is up against, but I can't. I just want to show you that you can do your own research and you can be a Trump supporter, but don't feel you need to embrace the views of these Negroes to do so. And with that said, I gotta get back to work.